We're with Jessica Purick, one of the 3 seniors on the Eastern Connecticut women's lacrosse team. Eastern getting ready to open up its 2019 season. Jess, you guys have been practicing for about 3 weeks or so now, and the opener is just around the corner. How has preseason gone?
It's been going pretty well. We've had to be in the gym for a couple days, which trips us up a little bit because we're a little more constricted and we're indoors, so your hand-eye's a little off when you're in the gym. But we've been going pretty well. We work hard every single day, and outside of just lacrosse, we lift 3 times a week too, which is really good for just building up our strength. And then,
is that different than previous years? Did you always lift in preseason?
We did, but I don't think it was as often. And now we have Mendoza, the new lifting coach, and he's awesome. So we have him, and then we also have 2 interns that work with us every single time we're in the gym. So it's been helpful.
Can you feel the difference?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I come in, I can get a little bit more on the weight rack, but yeah.
It can only help.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, you're talking about practicing a lot indoors because you haven't been able to get outside much. And as a goalie, how much more difficult is it to see the ball in the gym?
Yeah, it can be hard. So like, especially the gym floors are pretty yellow because it's the basketball courts. So when people shoot low, a lot of the time the ball just disappears for me, but it's not horrible. Especially, we have like the LED lights shining down too, which can be difficult, but I think it also helps us just focus and make sure everyone has their eye on the ball all the time.
You would think after practicing indoors, especially as a goalie, that when you got outside, like you might see a real clear, it must be a lot easier to see the ball,
Yeah,
no?
It definitely is for me. Especially also like bounce shots on the turf versus the basketball court, they're way different. So it's an adjustment, but it's good for you, I think. It gets everyone's hand-eye going a little bit more, especially for me.
Well, you're going to have a big difference on the bounce shot. I mean, indoors it's going to come up to you. Now, when you get outside, it's going to probably just sort of skip, right?
Yeah, so depending on the turf, the ball bounces differently. And like we have our new turf, which we've already adjusted to that since the fall. But yeah, in the gym we try not to do bounce shots because they're not really realistic, but when it happens, it happens.
Well, you guys, this is going to be a very different team from last year. Last year was your first year as a starter in the goal. You were behind Taylor Emerson for 2 years, and you had a very veteran defensive team in front of you. Now, all those guys left. They left you by yourself, but really, of last year's starters, 8 are gone overall, only 4 are back, and none of them are defenders. So talk about that difference.
Yeah, it's been difficult, but then also we've found the girls, like we have a lot of talent across the board on the team, so we've found the right people to fill in those positions. So depending on our defense, we have found the players to fill in those spots, and then we just work every day to get the defenses back to where they were, but then also it's a new defense with every teammate that's on the field, so everything shifts a little bit, but like we have a couple zone defenses that we've been working on, and then also man. So a lot of the new girls, so we have like Stacy Brodeur, like she's filling in like the backer for our defense, and she's doing amazing with that. And then Olivia Donahue, she used to play goalie last year, and now she's on the field and she's quick. So we have her on defense as well. So it's different filling in the spots, but every year you have to shift in new people, so it's not horrible.
Well, last year, it was your first year as a starter. Was it sort of comforting in a sense to have those veteran defensive players to sort of help you?
Yeah. So I would say it was definitely helpful to have them because they already knew how everything was run, and then I was just a different goalie filling in, and I was comfortable with them because even at practice, like I would jump in on those defenses as well. But
well, you were the backup to Taylor Emerson. You backed up her 2 years. She was a 4-year starter. Talk about that relationship and whether that helped you transition into a starting role.
Yeah. I mean, coming in, it's definitely nerve-wracking having a goalie that's older than you. And with a lot of the time with goalies, it's either you're kind of competing against each other all the time, but then you're also pushing each other. And Taylor and I, we like bonded pretty much like right away. And she was a great role model for me. So I had the 2 years of not starting, which like gave me patience as far as waiting my turn to be in goal. And then it was a huge learning curve. So I just learned so much from her and so much from just watching the team that I like felt ready by the time last year came around.
Well, you guys are two very different goalies.
Yeah.
So did that make any difference?
Yeah, I mean, every goalie has their own playing style, but I think both of us helped each other. So, like, she's super aggressive, and I wasn't coming in, so she definitely helped me become more comfortable coming out of the cage and being more fiery and quick like she was. But, yeah.
So did you have carte blanche just to come out of the cage? I know she used to get pretty far up the field, and you did too.
Yeah.
You have to use your judgment on that, right?
Yeah, it can be tricky at times, and I definitely am not 100% comfortable with it all the time, but if it's what you have to do, you have to just go for it, and that was like one of the big things that I definitely learned from her.
Well, you know, the goalie coming out of the cage isn't as big in Division III, but if you ever watch a Division I game, especially the men, their goalie is like an offensive
Oh
player.
yeah, they're out and about all
They're
the time.
over midfield.
Yeah, they can be a whole nother defender coming out of the cage too.
Absolutely. Think about last year. Last year at this time, almost exactly to the day, you were getting ready for your first career start against Coast Guard. So can you think back of that and talk about that experience as to...
Yeah, I was super nervous for sure because I just never started a game before. But I also felt ready because I had the 2 years under my belt of watching and then playing in practice and then getting a couple minutes each game in. So I felt ready, but I was also super nervous, and I mean, it was Coast Guard. We weren't expecting them to be as aggressive and as good as they were, but it was a good game. Like I think I had a decent amount of saves, so it was definitely a good confidence builder for the start of the season for me.
Did it go pretty much the way you figured it would be as a starter in terms of what you saw on the field and how you reacted and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it translates pretty well from practice onto game day, so like I felt comfortable with what I was doing and directing everyone on the field, so it was good.
You got a lot of new faces on this team. In the preseason, is it more? Do you think there was more teaching going on by your coaches because there was a lot of people that haven't been starters?
Yeah, I feel like at times we went back to basics and we were just teaching the individual roles for each position. But then as our preseason has come along, I think we've transitioned pretty well into so we've learned our new defenses and offenses. And we have a lot of new faces, but they've fit in pretty well and it's gone pretty smoothly, I think.
From year to year, do they completely change the defense?
No, we try to stick with the same ones, but we find the right one for the right group of girls.
I see.
So a couple years ago, we used our backer defense, and that was our set one. And then we've had years where our man defense is better. So for most of preseason so far, we've tried each one, and now we're kind of locking in on the one that works best for us right now.
Wasn't our former assistant coach big into teaching the zone? Is that why
Coach
you were
Rob
here?
was the one
Rob,
that came in, and
Yeah.
he introduced our black defense, which is the zone.
Which is hard to learn?
It's hard to learn, but when you get it
Yeah.
in a good rhythm, it's the best defense, especially for us. So it's so solid. So we always try to get back to that strong defense. So we've been practicing black, but then we still practice our man every day because it's good to have different ones depending on the team that you play against.
So it's a lot of film review and seeing what the other team likes to do?
Yeah.
In some sense?
Yeah, we watch a lot of film at least once a week after games start.
Think back to last year. Your first playoff start ever was just another in a series of unbelievable games against Keene State.
Yeah.
And you guys came out 17-15. We were down 13-8 in that game, and we outscored them 9-2 in the last 17 minutes. Was that nerve-wracking for the goalie?
Yeah, it definitely was. So I get nervous, like anyone else, game day jitters. But then usually once the game starts, I'm good to go and I'm locked in. But a game as intense as that one, I definitely was feeling it. But I think it came to my advantage because I had a decent amount of saves right at the end there. But yeah.
I mean, you had 5 saves in the last probably 10-15 minutes, because really if they were up 3, 4, 5 goals, and it seemed like anywhere along that last stretch, if they scored one more, it was probably going to be over.
Yeah.
So that had to be nervous for you.
Yeah, I try not to think about it when I'm in the moment. I don't look at the scoreboard and say, if they get one more, they're going to tie it up, and then if they get one more, they're going to win. I say, they're not going to get one more. We're going to get one more and keep the deficit going.
And we did. I know
Yeah,
Michelina Pinto had some goals and assists, so our kids really stepped up at the end of that
on both
game.
ends, offense, defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about, and this is something I just thought of, Jess, is that you guys came out, you didn't play well in the finals a couple days later against Plymouth State. And do you think maybe that Keene game was so emotional that it sort of took mentally a lot out of you?
Yeah, I would say at times games can do that because we get very into it, and we tend to be a second half team where we pull away right at the end and we use like that last bit of burst of energy to get the goals and get the saves and get the stops. But yeah, that could have contributed to how the Plymouth game went in the championship.
I've always said, I mean, and people feel different, but I always feel if you're going to go into a finals and you're going to lose by a lot. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, who wants to lose in overtime?
We did it.
It's a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was tough, but.
The last question, Jess, is there, coming into this season, any goals for this team, any tangible goals that the kids have talked about?
I mean, we know now, like, we're not going to step on the field and automatically dominate our entire conference just by walking onto the field. So we go day by day, but we all know that we have to put in the work every single day. We give 100% at practice, in lifts, outside, and even in film. So it's really just working hard and being accountable for yourself.
And see what happens.
Yeah,
right?
and go from there.
Put in the time. So the Warriors are going to open up their season on Saturday, February 23rd. They're going to be at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. They're not home until after spring break. Tuesday, March 19th, they'll be hosting SUNY New Paltz in a non-conference game. And then they'll finally open up their conference season at home on March 30th against the University of Southern Maine. Jess, thanks for being here. Good luck this year.
Thank you.